People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
I like Wes Iseli. I like everything about him.
All right, today it's just Natalie and I again. It's been a long time. I think it's been 5 or 6 weeks since Natalie and I've talked together.
Yeah, we were supposed to have one, but then something came up.
It coincided with episode 52 of season 1, and we had Vince.
And we had that foot doctor, and we said, well, we're going to put the foot doctor in now because it works well with your foot situation. So,
and my foot situation
is no better than it was before.
No, it is. It is. I can walk. I can do stuff. I don't have to wear the boot. But like yesterday's show, it was a show that was 3 stories to load in, and you had to take it piece by piece.
Yeah, they don't have an elevator.
And Natalie was watching the kids. Lana was helping Natalie watch the kids, I loaded all of them.
I had to nurse when we get... So we built in... I tried to get us there early. And I looked up the time the night before. What time should we leave? Because Waze has that option. What time should you leave in order to get there at this time? And it takes in normal traffic patterns to tell you what time you should leave. Well, I wanted to get there half hour early, so I scheduled it so that we get there half hour early so that I could breastfeed before we went in. But it was unusually high traffic, or unusually heavy traffic is the way Waze put it, and it kept adding time. So we ended up getting there on time for arrival time, so you had to go ahead and start taking stuff in while I nursed babies. But luckily, they're much quicker at it now, so it didn't take as long.
It took just as long as it did for me to carry piece by piece up 3 flights of steps. You didn't carry any equipment.
It used to be that
you didn't carry any equipment. We're talking about me and my foot.
Talking about it used to take 30 minutes to nurse, and that would have been up to showtime. But it took 15 minutes for me to nurse and change everybody's diapers and get everybody up into the show area, and then I was able to set up the whole show for you, and we started right on time.
So I got home after that event, and then I have to drive. That's my right foot.
Yeah.
I have to drive home 2.5 hours, and carrying everything up the steps in a hurry and down the steps in a hurry, and loading it all and unloading it all. My foot was hurting pretty good.
Yeah.
And then Saturday's event, I had to run. We'll get into that later. I had to run to get ready for that show, and between Saturday and what was yesterday? Tuesday?
Yesterday was Tuesday, yeah.
Between Saturday and Tuesday, man, my foot...
You need to put your foot up for a while.
Yeah, my foot's... I've broken some spider webs, I know. But anyway, so shows are coming back. Things are getting better. We're not near where we used to be.
Nowhere near.
But compared to 2020, we are rocking and rolling. And
you know what's funny? In talking to my mom, I always thought she realized how busy we were in summertime. We have a show every day. Every day we have a show, Mom. I always thought she realized that. But now Willow is coming, my niece, and she's helping me. And we're having to coordinate. She lives in your
mom's household.
Right. She lives with my mom. And we have to coordinate schedules for pickup and drop off as far as, getting her. And she's on vacation this week with them. So figuring all that out. And my mom, for August, we have quite a few shows, but it's not nearly as much as normal. And my mom's like, you guys are so busy in August. I'm like, no, we're not. I thought she realized how busy we could get. Apparently not. Apparently not. I don't know.
We have weekdays off every week. Every week.
Right. And that's not normal for summer.
No.
I mean, you might have... There would be a random
2 or 3 weeks. Every 2 or 3 weeks, we'd have a day off during the week.
And it would be a godsend. We'd stay in the house and just...
it would be a day to get groceries and...
No, we would get groceries on the way home.
That's true.
Yeah. No. Our day off, we'd sleep in and do nothing and stare at a wall. But, I mean, I don't know. In a way, it's kind of... I want everything to be back to normal. But the way this has worked out with COVID, I hate COVID. I wish it had never happened. But I
don't think anybody's enjoying it.
No. The way it's worked out, where we had Lex and Julian during COVID, It was slow. We got to get used to being a family of 5 and having 2 babies and figuring that whole situation out. Then things started opening, and it's been sort of a slow rollout, and it's getting more and more, but it's gradual. And I think for our situation, that's kind of, looking on the bright side, that's kind of good for us, because now we're getting the boys gradually used to, and ourselves gradually used to getting 6 people with Will out the door on time, everybody dressed, everybody's hair done, everybody fed, and out the door on time, and just gradually getting it, So by the time we are rocking and rolling, we'll have this down. We'll have it down to an art instead of being thrown into the deep end, I suppose, if you want to look on the bright side. Well, if you don't, whatever. It's still slow going.
Lana's been living this lifestyle her whole life, and she still doesn't have the hang of it.
No.
You would think she would.
Yeah. She's got long hair, and she has a hard time getting it all brushed.
And
Let's just leave it at that.
Well, I think she's watching TV and brushing one stroke every 6 minutes.
Yeah.
The brush is in her hand, so you check on her, she's brushing. But there's no way she's brushing her hair for 20 minutes straight. There's no way.
No.
So anyway, Willow, I'm proud of Willow. I give Willow a hard time, like every day, each and every day.
Yes.
And she's used to it.
Yeah.
But
she takes it in stride. She knows you're kidding.
She is the one that's at the front door, sitting at the steps, waiting to go.
Yep.
When we tell her, it takes her 10 minutes to get ready. We don't have to go in there and wake her up. We don't have to shake her. We don't have to do anything. She's got all of her stuff together.
Yep.
She's never once had to go back in the house for a phone cord or anything.
Nope.
She's
always at the front door waiting, or she'll come and she'll, I'm just about ready. I'm getting the boys dressed, and, one's dressed, one's not. She'll take the one that is dressed and buckle them in a car seat for me, which is great because, she's not on the clock at that point, but she doesn't mind. She doesn't mind doing that kind of thing, and that's really sweet of her, and I really appreciate it. I've got nothing but praises to say about her. She does a great job, and, she's 17, and she's taking care of twins. She's taking it in stride. There's been a couple hectic shows where the babies were cranky, and she's done great. And there's just little things. She'll take constructive criticism. Great. It's like, oh, don't do it that way. You got to watch out for that. And she'll be like, oh, okay. And fixes it. I'll have to tell her again. It's great. I couldn't ask for better. She's doing amazingly well. Very proud of her.
And she pretty much lives with us until we have like a 4-day break. Right. And then she'll go home and...
Yeah. She's staying with us for the full month of August. I'm not sure how far into September she's going to be staying with us. But at least for the full month of August, she'll be here with us. Because we might have a day or 2 off in a row. But then there's another show. And why drop her off to be home and have to pick her up the next day?
Now, what about October during the farm? Do we have her that whole month?
I've talked to her about that. I said, you might as well stay for the full month of October, too. We might have weekdays off, but if you just stay with us, if she doesn't mind. Yeah. And she doesn't mind. I think she likes us.
Nah, she likes me. She likes the star status. She gets to hang out and tell all her friends she's with a famous magician.
Yeah. I can see her rolling her eyes right now.
That's gotta be what it is. That's gotta be what it is. Anyway, so things are getting back to normal. It's not there yet, obviously, but we're getting there. We had a show this Saturday, and Willow is on vacation with her grandparents.
Yes.
And we've had lots of people. We've had friends that we've known from shows for years. We have neighbor friends. We have family friends. We have family that says, if you ever need somebody to babysit the kids, just let us know. Our old babysitter that helped out Lana said, if you ever need help with the twins, let us know. Mm-hmm. And we need help with the twins, but now she's teaching.
She's teaching summer school.
So she couldn't do it.
Well, but this was a Saturday. But this friend was really excited to help us. So I was like, okay.
But then there's other people that say, I'll watch the kids, but you have to drop them off at our house.
Right. And
they don't want to come with us. No, because we want to do a final bow with them. And since they're breastfeeding, they need to be close to mom. She hasn't pumped enough to have all that, so we just need to be close to mom.
Yep.
Anyway, and I like doing a final bow as a family. It's
Yes.
I don't know. For me, it just feels complete. Like having my family on the road with me.
Right.
I like that way better than doing shows alone. I did shows alone for 13 years. I like having my family with me. It's not a misery love company thing. It just feels like it's the complete package. I don't know. I don't know if other people see what I feel and what I'm saying. Do you understand?
I think so. I've gotten quite a few compliments or comments after shows of, people are saying they like the fact that the whole family is there together, and they think it's really awesome that we have everybody incorporated in the show. And I've heard that since the twins were born too. I mean, I heard that a lot before them, and I've heard it since then too. And so it really truly is family friendly. It's
a family show for families by a family.
Right.
Anyway, so this friend said, hey, I'll go anywhere. I'll do anything. I'm there for you. Whatever you need, I'm there for you. Mm-hmm. And we love this lady, and we said, okay, so here's the deal. We're going to have a show in Riva, Virginia, which is near Madison, Virginia. And Natalie said, all right, well, the babies are going to have to eat right at showtime. So I'm going to feed them early so they're not cranky for the babysitter. Mm-hmm. And is there anything near the show? Well, the show was at somebody's house, which I think is like a bed and breakfast. The place is huge, or it used to be a bed and breakfast or
Possibly.
something.
I don't know.
And we didn't want to go there because I just feel like everybody be looking at us.
Right.
So we met at a big gas station. It's a franchise gas station around here that's got like 30 pumps. It's big. And we tailgated Sheetz.
Yeah.
I don't know. People are listening from all over the world. They don't know what Sheetz is.
I didn't know why you weren't.
It's not national.
It isn't?
No, it's East Coast.
Oh.
And I think it's only, I don't know, like Maryland to Southern Virginia. I don't think it's.
Oh.
Anyway,
Who
you're
knew?
on a tangent. We stopped at this big gas station.
I didn't know why you weren't saying the name of the gas station. Okay, cool. Go.
And anyway, and the kids tailgate in Natalie's car. She's got little portable high chairs that she just puts in the back of her car, and she's feeding them. Mm-hmm. And we told the babysitter, heck, if you want to help feed and tailgate with us, get there a half hour early. We'll be in the parking lot, and then we can get you to jump in Natalie's car, and I got the van, and we'll take 2 cars over instead of 3. Mm-hmm. Well, she was all for it. We met her. She got there
before we did
at like 3:15. She was super excited to see the baby. She was so excited.
Yeah.
And
God, she is the sweetest lady. I love her to death.
She texted me on the way. She says, "I'm already here. I'm so excited. I'm giddy. I hope I'm at the right gas station because I'm so excited. I'm so excited." Anyway, go ahead. I'll let you take over.
Well, we got there. I fed the boys. I had to nurse the boys, and it was really hot. I mean, it was very hot. We picked a place that had some shade, but it really wasn't. I mean, you had to walk up onto the sidewalk to get shade.
And both cars are running,
so
that was sticking out exhaust.
Right. Well, I turn my car off when I'm feeding the boys because I open up the trunk and it does get hot with the exhaust. But then I turn it back on when I get in to nurse them because I nurse them in the car in the passenger seat.
But I had animals in my van,
and you were right next to me, and so your
was
car was on for the animals. Well, Wes was in the back. He just got new banners. He's trying to
from my sponsor, Express Copy and Graphics.
Yep. And he was trying to reclasp one that had come unclasped. And I had just finished nursing everybody, changed their diapers. The babysitter was holding one, and I got Wes to hold the other. And Lana and I went inside to use the bathroom because we weren't sure about using the bathroom at the show.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. We came back out. And the babysitter and you were at the back. The back of your van was open, and you guys. She was holding Julian, and she had Lex up on a tote that was in the back of the van, and she was standing.
I had him there. I was watching.
Okay.
I was watching
She
him.
was standing there right with him, and so I took Julian from her, and she started watching Lex.
When I went around,
and you went around to the front of the car,
and she kept saying, "The babies are little heaters. Boy, these babies are little heaters."
Did she? Wow.
She said that a couple times. I didn't hear that.
Yeah. So I took Julian to go buckle him in his car seat, and then I was going to come back for Lex to get him because we needed to head on out. And I did the chest clip for Julian, and I look around the back. I guess Lex had started crying, and I look, and Lex is on the ground. He was on the ground on his belly. and he started screaming. And I think I was in shock, because my first thought was, why did the babysitter put him on the concrete to crawl?
I had just put my
And
banner
why
away.
isn't she picking him up?
I had just put my banner away in the front seat because nobody riding in the front anymore. Mm-hmm. It's just me. And I slammed the door and I heard kerplunk. Now, I can't imagine, I can't describe the sound of a body hitting the ground, but it's a bag of water. It makes a certain sound. It's distinctful. And I heard that. And I didn't jump at it because I was thinking, I slammed the door of my van. What the heck could that sound be in my van? Because my van rattles so much. It's a big metal van.
Yeah. And then you saw him?
Did you point it out to me or did I see it?
I honestly don't remember. But I know you went past me and you picked him up.
I think I saw it.
And you picked up Lex, and then you said, "Oh no," because our babysitter was splayed out, laying back in the van. She had passed out. She had passed out from the heat in the van, and Lex had rolled out of the van onto the concrete.
So he was about 4 feet from my van. So I don't know if he tumbled. She said she tried to say my name. So we got mixed stories. I don't know if she tried to hand me the baby and I wasn't there before she passed out and she just dropped him on his face.
I think he was sitting on the tote still, because she told me she sat down in the back of the van and had her arm out to hold him.
So for him to get to where he was, just rolling off the tote, he must have hit the back end of my van.
Oh, it gets worse.
And how many tumbles would he have had to take? Because you got to think, he was 4 feet from the van. It wasn't just this.
Yeah.
It was boom, boom, boom.
It's awful. So Wes picked him up, and I went to Wes. I said, "Hand him to me." He said, "No, check on the babysitter." So I went over, and I said her name a couple times, and she looked at me, and she goes, What happened?" I said, "You passed out." She goes, "No, I did not." And she put her head back. And then people started coming over, and Lex was screaming, and I needed my baby.
Well, he didn't start screaming right away.
He was screaming. Yes, he was. He was screaming on the ground. He was crying on the ground.
It wasn't the high pitch that it was. It got louder.
Well, that's because I wouldn't let him close his eyes.
Okay.
So
anyway, I picked up the baby. I handed it to Natalie.
No, you didn't hand it to me. You didn't hand him to me. You told me to check on the babysitter, and I did. And my baby was crying, and I wanted my baby. And I said, "Hand me my baby." And you said, "No, you need to figure out the babysitter." And I said, "Give me my baby." And so you did.
So I gave her the baby. I went over there and tried to pick up the babysitter, and I leaned over and grabbed her around her neck and lifted her up in a seated position. There was bottled water next to her. I tried to put bottled water to her lips, and she said no. She said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, you passed out and dropped the baby." "No, I didn't." And she started crying, and she passed out again. And she just went, I'm talking like a dead person
Like limp, yeah.
And then other people started running up to the van. So there was nobody next to the van.
When I took the baby?
When you took the baby.
There were people talking to us from the car, but it was my baby. I know she's passed out, but I need my baby. I wanted you to check on her,
right.
And I wanted my baby. There was nothing more I could have done for him than what you could have done. But in that moment, mommy instincts kicked in, and I just had to have my baby close.
Well, we'll get to that. But by the time I picked her up and she went limp again, there was like 3 or 4 people coming, like their heads were in my van checking on her.
Yeah.
And I just stepped away because
the
way they were handling it, they were like they had medical background, and I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I can offer her water. I don't know what else to do.
But if she doesn't take it, what are you supposed to do?
And then people said 911, 911, 911, 911. And you were like 911. And when you picked up when I handed the baby to you, you said, what did you say?
I said, okay, so I took him, and I was trying to shush him because he was screaming, but I wanted to look at him. So I took him to my front seat of my car, and I put him down in the front seat of my car, and I looked him over to see what injuries he had. He had a little scratch on his forehead, and his forehead was getting more and more red, and his nose was scuffed up. Other than that, I saw nothing else. But when I picked him up from the front seat and picked him up and put him in my arms up against my chest, he wasn't able to hold his head up like he normally does, and his eyes were kind of rolling back in his head. And that scared the ever-loving crap out of me. And so you were at the back of the van at that point talking to somebody or something, and I turned around. I said, Wes, we got to get him checked out. His eye, I need him checked out too. And so...
And see, when you left me, I didn't know you weren't calling 911. So I didn't know there were so many people around. This was a busy gas station. Right. I don't know if people saw it or if just the commotion attracted attention.
Screaming baby.
I don't know.
But the guy that was calling 911, I went up to him and I said, can you please let them know that I need my baby checked out too? And he was like, what? And so he asked a question about the babysitter. I answered it and I said, she was holding him when she passed out. He fell on the ground on the concrete. Please tell them I need somebody to check out my baby too. So he relayed that as well. And honestly, I thought that they would just check him out there, like in the back of the ambulance.
The
just
EMT
check him out.
would check him out.
Right. But that didn't happen. And so the first ambulance got there and they looked at the babysitter and they were getting her taken care of. But one of the EMTs came over to me and started talking to me. And he was like, we have a second ambulance coming and they'll take him. He said, I think it's more important you get to the hospital and have a doctor check him out. At this age, where they can't talk and different things, I think it would be better. I said, okay, I don't want to take a chance, especially with his eyes lolling back in his head like that. And some lady came up to me and was like, do you want ice? And I was like, I don't think I need, you know what? Yeah, give me ice. Because I was like, at first I was thinking, well, it'll keep the swelling down if his forehead decides to swell up. I didn't know. I didn't see him fall. So I don't know if he landed on his face. I don't know if he landed on his belly and hit his head.
I don't know if he rolled off the bumper. Off the tote, hit his head on the bumper.
Right.
Did a full flip, landed on his butt, and then rolled over to his belly.
Right.
We don't know anything.
Who knows what happened? I still don't know. We never will.
And the babysitter doesn't know. She was out.
Right. And so, anyway, I had the ice thinking maybe that would help with swelling, but then he started trying to close his eyes. And everything I've ever heard of is you hit your head real hard, you have a concussion, don't go to sleep. So the ice really didn't work for his forehead because he didn't want it on him, but it worked great to get him to open his eyes every time he started closing his eyes. And that pissed him off. And that's why he started screaming high-pitched screams because I kept waking him up. Or I wouldn't let him go to sleep when he wanted to. And, dude, I was stressed. I was, man, I don't ever want to have to go through that again. But the second ambulance came and the guys were really sweet and we had to figure out, and I told them, I said, I'm by myself with twin baby, and my daughter, my 9-year-old daughter. I need them to come in the ambulance with me because I have nowhere. I don't have anybody to pick them up. I don't have anybody.
So our situation, we're still working on getting a van. Natalie brings the babysitter herself, the boys, and Lana to every gig. And then I'm in the magic van. In her car, yeah. And then I'm in the magic van with the animals and the show.
Right.
So when this all happened...
Julian was still...
He was buckled up.
He was in his car seat, buckled up.
And Lana was
in the back seat.
Freaking out.
Yeah. Poor thing. She did amazing. But these people that were at the scene and were helping out and everything, it was actually the guy that called 911 and his wife. They offered to drive my car to the hospital, follow the ambulance. And the cops that had shown up gave them a thumbs up. They're good people. They have right intentions. They're not going to kidnap your kids and all that stuff. So I was like, are you sure you want to do it? They're like, yes, absolutely. It's not a problem. So such sweet people. So nice. Do not know them. But they drove Julian and Lana to the hospital.
All right, but wait. Before you get to the hospital.
I'm not at the hospital yet. I'm just saying that was our plan. That ended up being our plan to get them to the hospital and not have to, because the ambulance riders were like, we can't buckle them up in the ambulance. They have to be buckled, and we don't have all the what are we doing? And they were trying to figure it out with the police that were there and everything else. And so that was a godsend that they were willing and were approved by the police to take Julian and Lana to the hospital because I had no way of getting there. And I told Wes to go ahead to go to the show.
So so they're taking Lana, and I looked around and Lana was crying in the back seat because she didn't want strangers taking her to the hospital.
And she was scared for Lex too.
Yeah.
She was worried about him.
And I saw Natalie giving her a pep talk before. They already had Lex like in the car, I guess, or with you
I was
still in
holding
your hand.
him. Yep.
And she was giving Lana a pep talk, and then I kind of hung around with them. And while everything was going on, and she was talking to the ambulance, I called the show and told them, "Hey, look, I've never had anything like this happen before. My babysitter passed out. She dropped my kids on their face. The kids got to go to the hospital. Babysitter's got to go to the hospital. I'm going to be late to this show." And they're like, "Well, if you're 10, 15 minutes late, I think we can make that work." Honey, dude, I don't know what to tell you. It might not be 10, 15 minutes. That's, what are you talking? The ambulance isn't even here yet. I don't know 10, 15 minutes. I'll get there when I get there, and I'll call you when I'm on my way. Goodbye.
Right.
I had to just hang up the phone on him. I couldn't. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so both ambulances drive off, and the lady's driving the car, and she has a teenage daughter in the car in the passenger seat. Mm-hmm. And then Lana and Julian are in that car.
Yeah.
And I leaned over the back. I gave Julian a kiss and gave Lana a kiss. And I went to the front window, and she rolled down the window. And I said, thank you for taking care of my family. I have to go do a show.
Yeah.
And her eyes just got so big, and I'm like,
right.
I gotta go. Bye.
And I told you to go.
And they gave me their text number and everything.
Yeah, I had her call me. I said, call my cell phone, so I have your number.
Yeah.
So I can call you and keep you updated and everything else. And yeah, I got that before I got in the ambulance. And I told you, because you said, go to the show. You questioned it, and I was like, yes, Wes, go to the show, because I knew it wasn't a life or death situation. I knew that. If it had been worse than it was, and I thought I needed you, I would have told you, you just cancel. We'll pay back their deposit and just cancel. I can't do this on my own. But I knew it would, I wanted him checked out because his eyes were rolling back in his head when he first hit his head right afterwards. I wanted him checked out to make sure everything was okay. However, I knew he wasn't going to pass away or anything horrible like that.
I didn't know that he wouldn't have to wear a helmet for the next 5 years. I don't know.
Right. Well, that didn't even cross my mind. But I wanted to make sure he was all right. But I knew that it would be all right if he went to the show.
Some kind of skull fracture.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking in my head, the show's an hour long. By the time I set up, take it down, 2 hours tops.
Right.
I'd be at the hospital.
Right.
What are they going to figure out in 2 hours?
Right.
I'd be in a waiting room with a mask on because of COVID.
Right.
There's nothing I can do.
Right.
I'll go do the show, and it's in the same direction of where you're going. So
Yeah.
I just drive. Anyway, so I'll drive.
But
away.
hey, can I just say that I like that you asked. I like that you
I don't
instead of you saying I'm going to the show, I like that you said I'm going to the show, right? Can I go to the show? Like, is it okay? It was kind of you
can I go
questioned.
to the show?
You didn't say can you, but you had a question in your voice and you asked. And I feel like that was kind of your way of saying,
what the heck do
reading
I do?
the situation. Yeah, is it like, do I need you more? That made me feel good. So,
Well,
but
see, I didn't remember that. I don't remember that.
I do, and even if you don't remember it, you did it, and I appreciate that.
Well, I'm driving. I have Waze on my navigation in my phone, and I'm driving to the show, and I want to call Natalie so bad, and just check on her in the back of the ambulance. And I'm like, if I hang up the phone, if I make a phone call though, I won't be able to see Waze.
Right.
And texts are coming through from your mom and dad asking, how is he? What's going on? Da da da. And your mom was like doing a pity party or something. I'm not saying anything bad, but I called your parents before the ambulances showed up, and I said he dropped and fell on his face, and she went, and I was like, Barbara, I can't have this right now. I'm stressed out. I don't need you gasping for air.
I think that was probably just automatic guttural.
I know. And then your dad got on the phone, well, they're really tough at this age. Don't worry. And I'm like, dude, you're overcompensating. I can't handle this. I got to go. Goodbye. And then after everything, I had to call and apologize. But I was stressed. And it was like, one was going one way that I didn't want to hear, and the other was going the other way.
Trying to make you feel better. Yeah.
It was, I love them to death. But man, because I love them, I can be mean to them sometimes and say, I got to go. I can't handle this right now.
Yeah, I think.
And I told them I was emotional. They know I was emotional.
They understood. They totally understood. But yeah, I got in the ambulance, and at first, the guy that got me up in the ambulance, I guess he was the driver, he told me to get on the stretcher, and he buckled me in, and I was just holding him. And the other two guys that were in the back, they were like, what about the baby? And we thought we were putting the baby on the stretcher. So then I got up off the stretcher, and I was like, I can sit here, and you can have him, and I'll just hold his hand. I mean, it's whatever you guys need to do, as long as I'm here with him. And so I sat in the side seat, and they had a little baby harness that they were able to wrap around the stretcher and buckle onto the stretcher and have Lex all in there. At that point, he had calmed down. He was chill for the whole ambulance ride. I mean, they were impressed. I was like, he's usually a pretty chill baby. So, he's usually more talkative than this, happier. I mean, he was chill in a way where he seems pissed off, really, honestly. But he was good. The only thing he didn't like was they put a little sticker thing on his toe that I think read his temperature, took his heartbeat type thing. He didn't like that. He kept wanting to kick it off and didn't like it when they put it back on. But he was fine. And on the way to the hospital in the ambulance, I asked the guys, I said, I get to stay with him, right? And they were like, absolutely, no questions asked. You're the mom. You get to stay with him every step of the way. I said, good. I said, now, I don't know, you guys may not have an answer for this, but do I need to call somebody to meet me at the hospital to take care of my other two kids? Because I have pretty much strangers driving my children to the hospital.
Total strangers. We still don't know their names. I don't know their first names.
I know her first name.
Okay,
I talked to her before we left.
I've texted with them since everything,
But I said, do I need to call somebody, or is it going to be quick? They're like, we have no idea. It'd probably be a good thing to call somebody. So I called the only two people that I know, because we were going to Culpeper Hospital. I know two people I feel like I could call in Culpeper, and neither one of them answered their darn phone. I'm going to give them a hard time about that for a long time now. But I called a third person that was further away. It'd probably take her about 35, 40 minutes, and she was like, what? And she goes, okay, you can tell me later. I'm coming. And so she was going to drop everything and come to the hospital, which was really sweet of her. And when we got to the hospital, the doctor said, oh, don't worry about it. You can bring the other two. Just bring them on in. We can have them come on in. And I was like, oh, great. So I canceled my friend coming to the hospital, and the EMTs were so nice. They were like, don't worry about it. We'll go out to the car and we'll get them. Because they saw the car when we pulled in. And so they're like, don't worry about it. We'll go out and we'll bring your kids in for you. You have enough to worry about. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you guys so much. I mean, that's above and beyond. They don't have to do that. So we got into the emergency room, and of course,
all right, before you get to the emergency room.
Okay.
Lana had a whole other story she told me.
Yeah. Okay.
What was Lana's experience?
So Lana's experience, she was nervous about, obviously. One, she was worried about Lex. And I guess in the moment, we didn't tell her how bad or how not bad it was. So she was kind of in the dark.
I had no idea.
All she knew was he had to take an ambulance to the hospital. And that's, in her mind, that's horrible. You have to take an ambulance, you're dead, pretty much, I think is what she thinks. So she was upset about Lex. And then a stranger was driving her to the hospital. And she is shy. So a stranger driving to the hospital is not a fun experience for her. But that lady was amazing. She, stuck her head in the car and started talking to Lana. She introduced herself, told her about herself. And she said, I have a daughter. I'll get her to come and ride in the car with us. And she turned around and she said, is that okay? I think it might make her feel a little bit more comfortable if my daughter comes too. I was like, totally fine. So she had her daughter come, and Lana said And she was the one that was holding the babysitter and coddling the babysitter, like, around the neck.
Yeah. Like she knew what she was doing medically wise. So that's why I was like, well, I'm hands off. it's hot enough back there with 3 heads. We don't need another person, and I don't know what the heck I'm doing, so.
Yeah. So she was, just to start off, I mean, she didn't have to do that. She could have just gotten in the driver's seat and driven. She didn't have to try and make Lana feel better, but she did, which just, again, God sends, thank you, Jesus, because that's amazing. One, above and beyond to drive them. 2, above and beyond even more to make her feel more comfortable. And then they get to the hospital, and Lana's like, when we got there was an ice cream truck pulling up, and they asked me if I wanted ice cream. And
it pulled up right when I got there.
Right. And she was like, I was like,
do you think those
okay.
people called just for me?
And I'm like, I don't think so. I mean, why would an ice cream truck come just for one kid?
So she thinks this is like some kind of miracle, like
yeah,
some kind of divine intervention. And they bought her an ice cream. And one thing, because she's so shy, I tell her when she's talking to adults, like if she places an order at a restaurant, she'll, I had cheeseburgers and fries. And I'm like, no, you want a cheeseburger and fries. Enunciate and speak it loud so people can hear.
Yeah.
She said, Dad, I said thank you very loud, and I was very appreciative. And then the ice cream lady says,
God bless your brother.
God bless your little brother. I hope he feels better. And she's like, how the heck did he know about my brother?
Right.
No one knows. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea.
So, anyway, we still have to
Unless
figure that
something
out.
else happened that she didn't see, and I don't know.
I was at a show, so I definitely don't know. So anyway, now you're in the hospital. She's eating ice cream.
Yeah, but not only did they drive her and comfort her, they also bought her an ice cream and a ring pop. She was fine. By the time she came walking into the emergency room and Meta, she smiles licking on ice cream. She was absolutely fine. But anyway.
She's like, oh yeah, Lex. I forgot.
Yeah. So we get in the hospital. They say they could come in. It's great. So we get them all in, and I'm sitting on the bed and holding him. They said that would be the best if he's being held. And he feels all over Lex's head, the doctor does, and really, pushes down to make sure there's nothing. And he didn't cry at all. There's no tenderness, nothing like that. He looked in his eyes to make sure, I guess not dilated or something. He looked in his ears. He said if there was a contusion or fracture or anything wrong, something majorly wrong, you'd see blood in the ears. There's no blood in the ears. He took his binky out of his mouth, out of Lex's mouth.
His pacifier.
Yeah. We call them binkies. And he took it out of Lex's mouth just to see if he had any busted lips or gums messed up or anything, and there wasn't. And Lex looked at him and grabbed that pacifier back and shoved it right in his mouth. That made the doctor chuckle and say, well, I think he's acting normal. And and he said, he's perfectly fine. He said, absolutely fine. I asked him, I was like, well, can he go to sleep after banging his head? I'm assuming banging his head, because at this point, his forehead, right between his eyebrows and a little bit higher up, was all red, and his little nose was completely red, like he had a real bad cold, or he was really cold, and his little nose was red, was bright red, and so obviously he had banged his face at some point or another, and so I asked him, I said, well, can he sleep? And he was like, yeah, you hear all these things on TV about not letting somebody sleep after concussion. He said, but that's not the case. You can let them sleep. Absolutely fine. So I was like, all right. And then, of course, so the doctor checked him out, and he was done in like 10 minutes. But then I had to answer all the questions that I answered in the ambulance on the way. Full name, birth date, how much does he weigh, best guess, last appointment did he weigh, where do you, address, phone number, what exactly happened. I have to repeat all over again. Then another lady comes in, address, phone number, name.
Which one was child services?
Neither. One was for hospital records, the other was for payments. So all your insurance information, all that great stuff. So I was there. Mostly, for most of the time, it was just answering questions for these two ladies. And then Lana and Julian were brought in by the EMTs while I'm answering questions. And he said both EMTs were guys. You send 2 guys out to get a car seat out of car. And they don't just bring in the car seat, they bring in the base too. They couldn't figure out how to get the car seat detached from the base, so they detached the whole thing. The car seat with the base attached, they just took the whole thing out. And we're like, we couldn't figure it. It's like,
which adds like 10
fine.
more pounds to the kid.
Oh, a lot. I was like, it's fine, thank you. I mean, what am I gonna do? Get upset because they brought the car seat base in? No. That was amazing that they brought Lana and Julian in, and so that was fine. And then the nurse that was in our room, she's like, do you need help getting to your car? And I was like, well, if you're offering, yeah, absolutely, that'd be great. Because at this point, my adrenaline is starting to drop, and Lex isn't so light anymore, and my arms are really starting to feel it from holding him for, over an hour at this point. So she offered to help, and she picked up Julian in the car seat with the car base, and she goes, whoa, I mean, I don't have kids, but I didn't think it would be this heavy. I said, the base adds some weight there. You don't normally have a base. And then I asked if I could see the babysitter because she was there too. I was like, is she okay? Am I allowed to ask if she's okay? And they were like, well, we can ask her. And I was like, well, can I see her? We can ask her. So they asked, and of course she said, absolutely, come on in. So I went and saw her, and she was coherent at this point, and she was so upset about Lex. And at this point I knew he was fine, so I said, he's absolutely fine, there's nothing to be upset about. But she felt so bad. And so then they were getting ready to take her out to do a head scan for her, because they thought she might have hit her head on something in the van when she passed out, so to make sure she was okay. So when she was rolling out, I said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and go. And that's when I finally got to leave the hospital. And the nurse carried Julian with the car seat and the car seat base attached all the way to my car. It was so sweet of her. It was so nice of her. She went above and beyond too. She didn't have to do that. I could have, technically I could have had Lex in one arm and carried the car seat in the other. But man, that would have been hard. It would have been hard. So that was really nice of her to do for me. And of course, during all this, I'm getting texts from everybody, and I'm trying to answer, and I wanted to let you know that he was okay. And then you were like, come on over to the show location when you get done. And I was like, all right. I mean, I eventually got that because I couldn't answer for a while. And you're like, hello? Like, I'm still in the hospital. I haven't left yet.
So here's my story. I get to the show, and we've done this show for this family 3 other times in the past. And I get there, I'm telling them how awful the day was and that my family's not with me and I have to do it by myself. And they're saying, hey, I was hoping you'd be able to do the show by the lake today. Oh, no. So that means you drive to their driveway. I'm not going to be able to carry a dolly and the cart and everything and do it in one trip. It's going to be, 20 trips. So I'm carrying everything down the hill. It's at least 2 football fields down a hill and set up next to a lake, and they have a little tent set up and a whole bunch of chairs, and everybody's down there. It must have been 20 people, 30 people down there, and they were all setting up around there waiting for the show the whole time. So trip number 1, trip number 2, they're just sitting there with their arms crossed, just waiting on me. Trip number 3, trip number 4. So on the way down, I was walking. On the way back to the van, I'm running, and I'm trying to call Natalie, checking on Natalie, texting Natalie, checking on the baby, because I couldn't do it on the way there. I go over there and I start setting up the show, and somebody says, so how's the baby? And I'm like, oh no. Because I was going to make an announcement at the end of the show telling them, everything that happened. And I said, all right, well, I was going to save this for later, but here's what happened. This is why, it's probably late for showtime at this point. The babysitter dropped the kid landed on his face. It must have been a 4.5-foot drop, da-da-da-da-da. She's in one ambulance, he's in another. My wife's getting driven by a stranger.
Daughter's getting driven by a stranger.
Daughter's getting driven by a stranger. I had to go do a show. And the blonde lady that was there looked at me like I was the most evil person in the world. And I'm like, she's, her facial expressions, I don't know if she said something. It was just, I don't know. But she was like, why are you here? Why aren't you at the hospital? And I'm like, isn't this a family reunion? Where are you guys from? And they're like, oh, Kentucky, Ohio, New Hampshire, Virginia. Yeah. Would I be able to postpone this and do it next week? No. That's why I'm here, people. This is for you guys. Are you going to be able to do a show? I said, once the show starts, you won't see. I go into show mode. It'll be fine. Okay. And then they want to talk. So how many shows a year do you do? I heard you did this and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm talking to him. And then I realize that there's callbacks in my show that talks about Lana. There's callbacks in my show that talks about a trick that Natalie and Lana do earlier. And if I skip that trick, I have to skip the callback. And do I need the wand laid here? No, I'm not doing the rope trick in this show. And Lana does this trick. Can I even do that? It was so confusing in my head. And I was rewriting the show while I was setting it up. I was so worried about Lex on the way there, I didn't even think about it.
Right.
That's a lot. And then I was like, guys, just give me 5 minutes. I'll have the show set up. I promise it'll be all good. I just can't talk right now. I got to figure this out. Because I had to try to rewrite my show in my head.
Yeah.
And then the lady that books the show, she must have been, I don't know. Do you think she's 80? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Older lady. And they're sweet. They're great people. But she comes over there. Can I introduce you now? And I'm on my hands and knees underneath my table digging through props. And they're like, Grandma, he doesn't want to talk to anyone. He doesn't want to talk, Grandma. And she didn't hear. And they just keep yelling at her. Grandma, he doesn't want to. And I'm like, oh, geez, don't push Grandma away. Grandma's the boss. I don't want to upset Grandma, but yeah, I need to concentrate. But you guys are messing me up. Anyway, so then something happens. Natalie texts during the show. And I never do this, but I answer the text, and I'm like, all right, come here. Or she's like, I'm all done. Lex is fine. We'll come to the show location, because I know people want to see you. Everybody's worried.
Yeah, so I texted that he was fine when the doctor left. I still had all those questions I asked.
Idea.
Right, I didn't know either. But
And then I do like a trick or two, and then I look over my phone. She hasn't answered, so I type, hello, as I'm grabbing my next prop. Guys, I never text during my show. I did a lot of things that I never do during my show. There's a prop that Natalie needs in my show that she has set up for me, and it's just waiting, and I just put it in my pocket, and it's always in my pocket. When it's not there, it didn't go in my pocket, then I need it. I have to, I'm doing my patter, I'm doing my talk that I talk to set up the trick. And I'm on my hands and knees, my head is in the table, and I'm digging for it. Yeah. I've seen other magicians do that, and I shake my head, and it's one of the biggest pet peeves in the world. Yeah. And here I am, professional magician, on my hands and knees, with my daggone head in the table, audibly digging for this prop. Ugh, drives me crazy.
Well, the lucky thing is, you have done shows for this family multiple times before. They also knew the situation going in as well. And when I got there, once everybody had asked about Lex and everything else, they said the show was amazing, that you did a great job. So they still had fun. They still enjoyed the show. It probably felt to you like what you were doing was taking way longer than it really did.
Even setting up, it might not have taken normal setup time. I might have done it real quick because adrenaline was still going and everything.
Right. So, I mean...
And that's another thing. You're loaded with adrenaline.
Right.
Things aren't... Yeah, everything seems sped up. Everything seems...
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it probably in your mind was worse than it was. I know you don't like doing that. And I know sort of rules were out the window during this show as far as texting and all that stuff goes. But I think it turned out fine. And I really think they all understood. I think they liked seeing the babies after the show.
Well, the first text...
I wanted to go home, but I was like, okay, I'm coming. And
when I'm texting during the show, I went to reach for a prop, and I saw a text from you. And I made an announcement to the audience. Hey, guys, my wife just texted. She said the baby's fine. They're all, yay.
Oh, that's sweet.
So then I pick up, sorry, guys, I never do this. And I told them, I spoke as I typed. All right, honey, come on here to the show. Everybody wants to see the babies.
Yeah.
Send.
Right.
And then 2 tricks later, hello was real easy. As I was setting up a trick, I just typed it. They didn't even know I did it because it was behind the table.
Yeah.
Because I asked somebody else to call 5 kids up.
So as they're doing that,
they know the names. I don't know their names.
Right.
So how long does it take to type hello ! Right.
Right.
But they loved the babies. They were holding the babies. They were loving everything. They loved
Yep.
the show. And then
Yep.
Lana's telling me her miracle story of the ice cream lady, the ice cream angel that knew about Lana and said, God bless Lana.
Right, yeah.
And then they were begging for us to eat dinner with them, and we're like, no, we were. I was covered in sweat running up and down that hill. It was still hot outside that night.
It was very hot. Yeah, it was still hot, and it was extremely humid.
And we got home, and we just made a microwavable dinner for everybody to share. And we sat at the house at the dinner table, and we just recounted. Everybody had their own story because we went in 3 different directions.
Right, and we just sort of shared our stories. And it was, I just wanted to go home. But I wanted Wes to be the one to tell him, we're just going home. Because I was like, I'm... That adrenaline dump, is that what you call it? When it's all done? I was exhausted. And we were over an hour from home. And I just wanted to go home. 1, adrenaline dump. 2, the stress is gone. Everybody's fine. 3, I just want to be at home in a familiar place where I know everybody's safe, and I just want to go home. So it was very sweet of them to offer us dinner. I think they were thinking, hey, just sit back, relax after your stressful day and have dinner. But I just wanted to go home.
See, I used to get that adrenaline dump doing magic shows. So imagine doing 4 or 5, birthday parties on a weekend when I'm a teenager.
Yeah.
You get on a high, and then you're driving to the next show. And then a high, and then you're driving to the next show.
So you slept hard at the end of the day,
At the end of the day, man, I mean, you are
exhausted.
Beat.
Yeah.
You are exhausted. And it wasn't like you worked hard. It was just adrenaline.
Right.
It was adrenaline deficit. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that night, I didn't sleep that well. One point I had a dream that the babysitter had Lex in his car seat, because you told me the car seat story. And she had it on the roof of the car, and it fell face forward on the ground. And she said, not again. And I woke up setting up.
Yeah.
And she was, and he was buckled, and he just landed face down. And I don't know if he would get hurt if he was buckled into the car seat. I think it might be protected. I don't know. But in my dream, that woke me up. And then another dream I had later on that night was I was explaining to somebody how he must have fallen. Did she hand the baby to me and her arms were stretched out and just let go? And then I'm holding the baby and it landed on its face. And I woke up and Natalie said, you all right? I said, well, yeah, I just had another dream about Lex falling on his face.
Yeah.
And then Lex wasn't sleeping that good.
Lex hasn't slept well a single night since the incident. He hasn't slept well one single night. Yeah, he was very restless. I ended up bringing him to bed that first night because it was me getting up every other minute. And why? Why do that when he can just lay with me and sleep better when he's with me?
And during the day, he's okay. He's a little more clingy than normal.
Yeah.
But he's fine.
Right. And then the next couple, but then last night was the worst. That I wanted to cry, but I tried not to because I didn't want him to feel my emotions and get worse. But he started screaming in his sleep.
He's cried in his sleep several times before, but this is totally different.
This was like scared out of his mind, high-pitched screams. And he wouldn't open his eyes, and I couldn't calm him down.
It was so loud that I jumped out of bed, ran down the hall, because I thought both of them were dueling. I thought it was 2 babies screaming. I didn't know it was just one.
So I picked him up from his crib, and I tried to take him to the rocking chair and rock him, but that didn't work. And then I was like, I better get out of the room so I won't wake up Julian, who's sleeping peacefully still, amazingly. So I went out in the hallway and walked up and down the hallway, and then I was like, I'm going to just go in Lana's playroom, and I can turn on a light. Maybe that will help wake him up. And I turned on the light, and by the time I walked in and turned around, you were in the doorway. And I was like, I can't get him to open his eyes. Just to have him open his eyes and see, hey, look, mommy's here. You're okay. I couldn't get him to open his eyes. And so eventually he stopped. But and then he had that whole, trying to catch his breath from after all the crying. And just, it killed me. But eventually I got him back to sleep, and I held him for quite a while and put him back down. And, he woke up a couple more times, and I had to rock him back to sleep. But it wasn't that bad. But that time, that broke my heart. And I'm assuming it's because of what happened. Because, I mean, of the two, he's the worst sleeper. But not like this.
Okay, so that happened. The incident happened on Saturday.
Yeah.
Monday, we had a doctor's appointment for the 10-month checkup anyway.
Right.
And our doctor gave him another checkout and
Yeah.
said he's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
He's fine.
Yeah.
And they said that the baby's skull isn't completely together.
Right.
So
It's not
things can
fused.
move,
There's still that soft spot up top.
and
Yep.
things can move around. And
There's more fluid around babies' brains than adults. So that's even more protection.
And he said if a skull is fractured, it's usually from multiple injuries, and that's when they bring in child services because it takes a lot to fracture a baby skull.
That's usually abuse, unless you know the incident and they fall and they hit the corner of something, something like that. But for the most part, so Lex is medically all checked out and is fine. As far as nightmares, I had one last night, so we're still recovering. I think Lex and his sleep is still working things out. But hopefully that'll pass here soon and it'll all go back to normal. Poor guy.
But I can't believe if you'd have told me that you could drop a kid on his face 4.5 feet in the air.
And be okay.
On concrete.
Yeah.
I don't even like thinking about it.
And the babysitter is fine, just to let you know. Heat exhaustion, she's good. She's good to go now, yeah.
She was a mess.
She feels very guilty.
We met her after the magic show and told her to
beyond
meet us back at that parking lot, and we wanted to give her a hug.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't seen her. Natalie saw her in the hospital. I didn't see her. And I pulled in the magic van behind her. Natalie was in front of her car. And I said, let me get the baby so you can hold him. And she just started bawling.
Yeah.
And then she got to hug Lex and give Lex a kiss. I gave Julian a hug and a kiss. And everything's good with her.
But now for the rest of his life, every time he does something that's not so smart, we'll just blame it on the fact that he fell on concrete when he's 10 months old.
But 3 days later, Natalie tells me the paperwork from the doctor's office. She's like, yep, he had a concussion. I never heard that word before. You freaked me out. It started over again. I'm like...
And that was right before we went to the doctors.
He had a concussion? What do you mean he had a concussion?
I mean, he smacked his head. Of course he had a concussion. Yeah.
But I didn't think of it. Nobody used that word. Everybody said he's fine.
Right.
But...
He's good to go.
Anyway, so that's our story. I'm sorry if I did not know this was go the entire time today.
Right? It sure did. Lots of details you got to get through.
But, yeah.
That was our weekend. We'll have to go over other stuff next time.
Dude, we skipped church on Sunday. We skipped our grocery errand run that we always do every Sunday. We needed to just sit at home and have a family day on Sunday. We were all not only physically but emotionally just drained and exhausted and in shock and just thankful for what we have and just let's spend time as a family together. It's just we'll just stay home today. So that's what we ended up doing on Sunday. But anyway, you have anything else to say?
No, I think that about wraps it up.
Lex is fine. Everybody's good.
Yes.
And our
Praise
babysitter
Jesus.
said that she would be happy to babysit again, but next time she'll just stay at home and watch the kids there. So if we ever need her to watch the kids at home, can't do the final bow doing that. So.
She could do it on like a date night or something. If me and you wanted to take a date night, that would be a good time to have her if she wants to do it that way.
But we still love her.
Yes.
My brother said, would you ever have her watch your kid again? It wasn't her. It's not like she pretended to pass out.
Right, and it's not like she took Lex and just threw him on the ground. I mean, so it was an accident. Accidents happen. Luckily, this turned out absolutely fine. So, it is what it is.
Can you imagine somebody yelling at her about that though?
And
I can't believe you did that. I mean, how can you?
You can't. It was an accident. And it was God protecting us from something else, I do believe.
Well, I told her if it would have happened at that show we were at, the way the guard gate was set up, because it used to be a bed and breakfast, or it is a bed and breakfast at this home, I don't think an ambulance would have fit through, and 2 football fields down that hill to get the ambulance, and
right.
I don't think they would have got the babysitter out of there.
So it could have been for that reason. It could have been for something else. Who knows? We could have gotten a major accident on the way. Whatever. I think God just needed us to be
everything happens for
delayed.
a reason. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, everybody's good. Everybody's good.
Yay.
And man, I got so many more things on the notes to talk about, but I guess we'll wrap it up.
Yep.
Thank you guys for hearing us rant about our baby. Obviously, we were in shock. A buddy of mine told me, oh, you have 2 boys. They're going to have broken arms. This isn't your first hospital visit. That's not what I want to hear, man. That's not what I want to hear. But anyway, on August 7th at 6:30 p.m., we'll be performing our Illusion show at Goochland County Parks and Rec. For tickets, go to goochlandva.us or call 556-5854. And Season 2 of Wes Iseli's Magiclife is now over, but you can still binge all of Season 1 and 2 on Jewel TV. Jewel TV is on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, the Jewel TV app, and tons of other places. It's in over 100 million households. All you have to do is look for it. And our show merch is now available at wesisley.com. That's logo t-shirts, that's Magic Man hats, that's stickers, playing cards, and more. Go to wesisley.com. See you next week. Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by Express Copy and Graphics. Mention promo code Wes Iseli to get 10% off. Their website is expresscopy.com. That's XPRESS-COPY.com. They do it all. Copies, banners, signs, vehicle wraps, promo items, practically anything you need printed, they can do it for you. These guys are great. Check them out. Check us out online at wesisley.com and patreon.com/Wes_Iseli for behind-the-scenes videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled Wesiseli.